Okay, so I'm probably gonna have a few people coming in late like normal, but today's class is participatory, but not yet. We're going to actually be calling on some of you guys and hearing what your cold call pitch is, just to see if we can work on it a bit. I know,
Please.
Nicholas has been working on his, so that's good. Come on in. All right.
Today
So,
is
Here, I'm gonna grab you some paper.
go have a seat and get the sign-in paper signed. We'll get started. We're going to be calling on you guys to put you on the spot to hear what your cold call pitch is, and then we're going to. I'm going to give you some scripts, but of course the scripts are just a guideline. Okay. Here's some of the most important things on cold calling. This is the class today. Cold calling. Role play.
My desk.
Cold calling is all.
Okay. So, unlike residential, where these guys can just go out and door knocking doesn't work so much for us. Okay. If you sell business opportunities, small business, door knocking sometimes can be effective, but most of the time, if you do retail or office, whatever, you go door knocking, most of the time you're not going to reach the owner. You're going
They
to
have
get
cameras now,
secretaries.
yeah.
You're not going to get in. So 90% of the time, door knocking doesn't work for us. Your book of business, your prior clients, that is one big way in commercial, but most commercial, especially new agents, the way they get business is cold calling, okay? So if you don't like the cold call, you're not good at cold calling, you're gonna have some problems with this, okay?
More cold calling.
Yes. So cold calling is something that is just the way it is with commercial real estate, and even experienced agents still have to do it. They just don't have to do it as much because they did it a long time ago and they've built up some repeat clients, okay? So if you don't like the cold call, you're gonna have a lot of problems in commercial real estate. Artie. So anyway, nice of you to join us. You don't like the cold call, why are you in a cold call class?
Well, maybe
Maybe you'll learn. Okay,
maybe
good.
you'll tell me something I don't know.
Here's your sign-in sheet. Okay. All right. So one of the most important things to remember is all commercial companies do cold calling. So the first thing you got to do is sound different from everyone else. Okay. So everyone can get the same data list of investors and directors of real estate. So everyone is calling these guys all the time on their buildings. And they do the same thing. They're saying, do you want to sell your property? I got someone that wants to buy your property. Do you want to sell your property? Okay? So that's what they hear all day. So maybe if you sound different, if you sound more intelligent, or you have another option or another angle, they're going to listen to you instead of just hanging up. And, you know, because most professional investors are more likely to be buyers than sellers. They're happy with how their building is doing. Or even if they inherit the building, if it's like putting off good income, you know, they're not thinking of selling. And they definitely don't want to hear another broker call and say the same exact thing as everyone else. Okay? So do a little research. Maybe they have some vacant space in their building. So why don't you talk to them about helping them fill that vacant space? Okay? That's a different angle that no one else is doing. And once you lease up the space, then you could say, hey, your property is worth more now. This is what it's worth. If you ever want to sell, I want to run your business just as, you know, I did a good job by leasing it up. This is what it's worth, okay? So here's some of the things that I've always taught my agents to help them be better at cold calling is sound different. I got scripts, but what you say is not as important as how you say it, and say things differently than other agents, okay? So instead of worrying about, do you want to sell their property, let's do something different that is something that they need before they know whether they want to sell their property, okay? Let's pitch the evaluation, okay? which is the CMA, the market analysis, the what is their property worth, okay? So go more into when's the last time you saw what your property was worth, okay? Or when's the last time you checked to see what your property, how's your property doing, okay? Just different ways to say it, but basically it's like, let's use the evaluation as a way to earn their business and to show them that whether they want to sell this in 6 months or 6 years, you're the one that should do it, okay? And also let them know that this is not just to see what their property is worth, it's also to see what the current rent values are. Are they getting what they should be in rent? Let them look at you as an advisor, not just a hustler like everyone else that's coming to just get a commission. You are, but you need to be smarter to disguise it. Because if you look at these as transactional, that's all you're going to do is just be transactional to them. If they look at you as their guide, their broker, their advisor, you can get multiple deals from them, okay? Because the thing is, it's about getting them to start talking to you and answering questions, because maybe they don't want to sell this building, but maybe they have another building they would consider. Or maybe they're not sellers, but maybe they're buyers. So what do they want to buy? You can find it for them. Off market, on market, whatever. So get in with them and learn what they need. But doing some research beforehand will help you to find those and ask the right questions. Because if you don't get in with them in the first couple minutes, they're not going to waste your time. You know, you can't ask them, hey, what are you guys looking for? What are you guys interested? You know, you should know some of that stuff. You should be the expert. That's why they would hire you. Okay. The numbers, all cold calling and telemarketing has to do with the numbers, okay? It has to do with how many calls you make and how many of those are what we call good data. Because you're going to get disconnected numbers, you're going to get a bunch of voicemails, you're going to get, you know, so it's cleaning that up and always adding new data. Whenever you search a property, there's going to be all these other property owners and, you know, whatever that you put in there, buyers and sellers, you're always adding to it, okay? So having good data, but it starts with how many calls you make, and then it's how many of those are good numbers or contacted, that you reached, okay? And then there's a conversion from how many you've reached to how many that you do an evaluation on. And then as you move up in stages, the evaluation goes to a listing presentation. And your listing presentation will lead to people that actually list with you. And once you get a listing, then it goes to how many go to escrow. And once you go to escrow, that's the biggest percentage of actually that get to close. And then once you've gone through a whole step, those clients, though a lot of them will become repeat clients with you. Okay, so that's what you want to, but you start with the contact, the call. Okay, it all starts with that. Now there are ways to make your calls more interesting and more likely to be listened to. Okay, so if you just call and say, I'm calling about your apartment building up on 5th Street, are you interested in selling? Okay, there's nothing that you're providing them that's different, and it's nothing any different than the other 5 guys that have already called that day. Okay, but if you call and say, hey, I'm calling about your property on 5th Street. My partner Stuart and I just listed and sold another property a couple blocks up the road, and we have buyers that, you know, would like a property like yours. Have you ever considered selling? No? Okay. Are you considering purchasing other properties? We can help you. We're experts in this area. We work this, you know. So it's a different approach, and it's a little more interesting to them, because somebody that owns a Chick-fil-A in Dallas is more interested to want to buy more around there, buy or sell, okay? So even though you might call purposely looking for listings, you can get buyers out of this. And if you start getting a relationship with them, you can ask them, do you know anybody else that might be interested in selling? Oh, I'm not interested in buying and selling, but man, I got this friend, I have this, you know, my sister-in-law just inherited a property, and yeah, she probably could do something with it, okay? So it's all about asking the right questions, not giving up until you get something, okay? All right, so let's put somebody on the spot. Okay, how about,
I knew you like to pick on me.
yeah.
I'll
okay.
volunteer.
So let's start, okay. Let's say you're calling just one of your clients that it's in your space that you guys are calling buyer or seller. Ring, ring.
Ring ring. Hi, this is Jordan Goodkin. The reason I'm calling is I have a client looking to purchase a portfolio of properties in your area, and your property seems to match his criteria. Do you have any interest in selling right now?
Okay, that's not bad. The portfolio thing would probably interest, but they'd probably want to know that you're with the company, not just some dude.
Jordan Goodkin, calling you from P Commercial.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
I was doing this yesterday,
Yeah, yeah.
actually.
Okay, so that's the thing is that, you got to be quick, friendly, but, you want to tell them who you are, what you're with. You don't want to spend 2 hours, but you got to be quick and friendly up front, okay? And then normally you don't want to say you got to buy, but I mean, if you go in with something more interesting, like I have a buyer looking to buy a portfolio, that's something that would interest them more because they're going to think you got something different than some other brokers. Okay. All right. Nicholas, you try it. Okay. Ring, ring.
Can I actually try some of the ones that I've been
Yes.
using?
Try whatever you want.
Okay. Hi there, my name is Nick Myers with P Commercial. I specialize in multifamily sales in the North Hollywood area. How are you doing today?
Good. How are you?
I'm doing very well. I'm calling to let you know that rents have been falling periodically over the last 6 months in the North Hollywood area, and it looks like they may continue to drop. What's your strategy to deal with this?
I'm good. We got people on 12-month leases, so we're fine.
That interests me.
Congratulations.
But I like I think the advice I gave you, don't be like the guys calling, they get 7 calls.
right.
a day.
That does sound better, but you got to have answers for the
Right,
rebuttals.
exactly,
or
yeah.
else you
And
just-
that's where I'm struggling now,
Yeah.
is that,
But it's
I
good to
always
see
go
you
Well, that's
bring
good. We
bring that
can
resource.
help you come up with some of
Yeah,
those.
yeah.
So
This was one that I just thought of prior to the class. And this is more what's actually going on in the North Hollywood area. Rent growth is not going to be very high looking forward, so it's important to be maximizing your rents during this time. How is your investment performing compared to the rest of the market?
That's
And
good.
maybe ask, do you have any areas where you could be adding value?
right. So let them know, like third-party stories. Like say, well, what we've done for some of our clients is laundromat. Okay, the laundry room, instead of it being an area that sucks money out, what we can do is we can show you through some of our connections how you can either rent out your laundry room to a third-party vendor, or you can actually do a partnership with them where they come in, put all new machines, put in, the Visa, they upgrade your laundry room, they take care of it, and you can do like a 50-50 split, or you can just charge them rent. So now all of a sudden you're making money off your laundry room. It's an amenity that's up to date and nice for your tenants, and you don't have to worry about fixing machines and flooding and all this kind of thing anymore.
Right.
We've looked at doing like a la carte, where you break out your rent for your apartment and then you charge separately for parking. In some areas like North Hollywood, you can do that. You can also look at adding cell phone towers on top of your building. We can look at all these different ways that we can generate extra income, because if rents get tight, then you might not be able to raise rents, but you may be able to make money from other ways. Okay? And then, they might, what if they say something about, well, I think there's going to be a recession in 6 months, so I'm not sure if this is the best time to buy or sell. What do you say?
When would you be looking to? But then that's
What do you
kind of
say?
pushing it off.
Well, then you can say, well, I said you can look at that either way. If you're a seller and you think a recession is coming, this might be the top of the market, so this might be the perfect time to sell. If you think there is a recession, and what happens in a recession, people lose their houses, okay? And then they have to live somewhere, they're going to rent.
Right.
So apartment is going to be one of the areas that are not going to be
So
as
that's
effective.
kind of the rebuttal to if they're like, oh, I want to hold because of this recession and such, I don't want to sell.
Yeah.
That's kind of the counter to be like, hey, well, this is really the flip side that you might not be looking at.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay?
So I think the Marcus guys spend, what, 5 months training their guys on nothing but how to keep people on the phones and get a face-to-face, not even a listing anything, just a face-to-face meeting.
Right.
But they're very good at it too.
Yeah.
They'll come up to rebuttals for everything you say.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They're impressive.
Yeah.
But that's how it's a numbers game for them.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Like, I mean, if you got someone that says, why would I sell now? I have like a incredible low interest rate, and the interest rates have gone up since then. So why would I sell my building?
Well, sir, you could sell with us, and we have many fantastic financing opportunities here at Marcus.
Right.
They
Well,
always-
you could be like, well, yes, you could say something like, well, is your loan assumable? That would make it very attractive to a lot of buyers. And what is your cap rate? What's your return on cash? We might be able to put you into something that's passive and do a 1031 and not have any tax implications.
Yep.
Your low interest rate loan might make your property more attractive to an investor. Okay? So but rebuttals and keeping them on the phone is something important. But the first thing is you got to break through and you got to be friendly. You have to be informative. You have to have something that is going to be different than everyone else calling.
My word is a resource.
Right. Okay. Anyone else want to try? Okay. All right. So here is a pitch. Okay. And scripts are not always good for everyone, but the thing is that if you read this enough time to make it sound like it's from you, or you change it to your own words, the main thing is you got to have something that you're comfortable saying. You can't just call and wing it and sound different each time. Okay? Because it's not going to work well for you.
So with that said, on winging it, I think it does build that experience and that confidence. So.
Okay.
That's the second.
This one was the voice most. Which isn't bad.
That one's next.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Eric, he thinks he doesn't need it, so it's all good. Okay.
Looking over me.
Okay. So just think about the order that you say things, because if you wait until 10 minutes in to start talking about your team and your expertise, you might not ever get to that. So start friendly, but also start putting things in that builds credibility. If you're new, start talking about the company or start talking about the area you work, and make sure that it tailors to what the investor or what your caller is. I mean, if you got somebody that owns an apartment building, don't start talking about you sell CVS's, okay? He doesn't care, okay? He wants to know that you know the apartment business in North Hollywood, okay? Because North Hollywood is totally different than West LA, okay? Two totally different things, okay? And North Hollywood also has issues as far as there's some rough areas of it, okay? So, but there's also lots of opportunity with for new development, okay? And there's parts of North Hollywood that are right next to Toluca Lake, and there's parts of North Hollywood that are like industrial and near Van Nuys. So, there's a lot, you got to know that market, okay? And you got to know what asset classes that they're in. If they own a little office building, mom and pop kind of thing, don't be talking about Class A CBRE type of office. It's totally different.
Right.
Type of tenants, type of area, rents, everything. Okay? So you're new, so you would talk about peak commercial. You'd also talk about, me and my partner. Talk about Stuart. And, you can use his history and his background to give you credibility, because if you call and say, hey, I'm 20 something right out of college and I just came here from Reno.
After listening to you, like,
Yeah, it's not going to go.
I'm waiting for that
It's
call
not
from
gonna
Marcus.
go. Yeah. So you use our credibility and the company and all those kind of things. We've been here 20 years. We have 11 different entities, all those kind of things to build credibility. Okay? All right. Any questions so far? All right. Let's talk about voicemail. So voicemail is not as big a thing as it has been in the past. A lot of people don't use voicemail, they don't return it. A lot of people, when they see a missed call, they just like call back the number. But older people still will check the voicemail. And a lot of our clients are older because older people are the ones that have money and own properties. Okay? So you either should never leave a voicemail and just hope they call you, or you should come up with a voicemail pitch that is more interesting and is going to get called back. Because you guys remember I used to be in like a straight up Wolf of Wall Street boiler room where I had like 18 guys calling 6-8 hours a day, and they used to leave hundreds of voicemails. So I would know who would never get a voicemail back because they'd be like, this is Gil from James Kaplan Advisors. Call me back. That no one, he never gets a call back.
Right.
But then my number one guy, Ty Barbo, he's from Texas, got a Texas accent, sound, he's like, hey, this is Ty Barbo. I got a client with $9 million to place within 60 days and your property perfect, call me back. It's got some energy. It's like he gets called back.
Yeah.
It's like, it's just, you got to come up with something that sounds interesting, something that's directly going to interest that client. Okay, so you do apartments in North Hollywood, you tell them you just leased or sold a building right up the street, would they be interested? Or even if you're general, like, hey, I got a great idea for your property, I'd love to have you call me back, something that's more interesting than blah, blah, just going through the whatever. So here's a voicemail script, so yeah, so see if you guys can pick anything up from that's going to help you, because just like leaving some blah blah is not going to get you anywhere. Okay, so another couple little things that you should keep in mind for cold calling is you always want to get their email address, okay? And a lot of times they're going to ask you to send you some info, so you're going to get their email. You have their phone number, you're talking to them, but you need their email. Email is important nowadays. Now, a lot of times you'll be doing a call, and they'll be like, I'm with Peak Commercial, and they'll be like, well, I never heard of you guys. The first response is, oh, give me your email and I'll send you some info. But that kind of delays building the credibility, okay? They're usually like in their office or in their house, and everyone has a computer. So if someone says, email me some info, get their email so you have it. But you can also say, hey, why don't you go on your computer and look up my website and see what we're all about, okay? Because a lot of times, if you get them on the computer, start saying that, oh, we own our own finance company and we're involved with like $300 million, developments, and we own our own escrow, whatever, they're going to be like, okay, yeah, this guy's legit. Maybe I'll listen to what he has to say, okay? So you always want their email so that you can stay in contact with them, and you do want to do a follow-up email afterwards and say, hey, it was great talking to you. Here's some properties. I'm going to look out for some more. Anything you don't like, let me know. And so you do want to start an email and you put them in your database, but you also want to be able to get them onto the website to maybe do something right then and there, not just delay it. Okay. So another thing that comes up with building credibility and getting to the evaluation stage is doing research before you get on the phone with them. Or you can at least have CoStar up so that if you do get someone, you type in their name, you type in their property, you can find out other properties they own, and a little bit of research about what other things they own and what they bought and sold would also help you to sound more like the expert when you're talking to them. Okay? All right, so I've been talking a lot. What kind of questions do you guys have about any of this? Nothing? Okay.
What are good numbers in your opinion? So I make 100 phone calls, which is still a low number. I make 200 phone calls. How many either CMAs or callbacks or something would you generally be expecting
Okay, so
to have a successful call run?
my guys, we would have a goal of 100 calls a day. And, you know, some of these were skewed because I had one guy, like my average call time each day was like 7 minutes per call, okay? There's a lot of hang-ups, then sometimes you talk to some, you know, so let's say 7 minutes. Then I'd have Joel, who his average talk time is 39 minutes. So Joel doesn't need 100 calls per day. He can get the same amount of evaluations with like 40 calls a day. Because when he gets someone, he's not letting them off the phone. He's walking around the office for half hour talking to them, and he's going to wear them down until they give him something. So it used to be 100 calls per day, and of that, about 30 would be average for reaching people. And then of that, our goal was 2 evaluations or CMAs in a week. So 2 evaluations for 500 calls and 100, you know, like 30 times 5, 150 reached. So 2 evaluations would be a goal, and some, you know, even 1 for new people would probably be about average. 2 was more for actually everyone combined. And then of that, we would, the numbers worked out to about 1 listing about every 2 months, okay? So it's a lot of calling to get results. And most of you guys are not even doing 100 calls probably in a month. So that's why you don't have a lot of listings probably, okay? So it's a numbers game. So it's like, it doesn't matter if you make these 100 calls in a day, you're still not gonna reach everyone. It's gonna be voicemails, disconnected numbers, all that, or people just screening their calls. So it all goes down. It's like, however the better data that you have, the better you're prepared when you call, the better you do because once we get to the evaluation, it's pretty easy for us to sit down with you and, you know, be real strong in a listing appointment. I can sit in with you, Stuart will sit in with you, so I mean, you're not gonna be on your own when you sit for a listing appointment, and once you get a listing, you don't have to sell it. You got everyone here can sell it, everyone on CoStar, so getting a listing is easy, okay? Now another thing you could do is, a lot of people, they might get to this point, but they don't want to sign a listing. So you just say, hey, you know what a lot of our clients do is we do a lot of off-market listings, pocket listings. Because a lot of commercial clients, they don't want their tenants or employees to know that the property's for sale. So what we'll do is we'll make sure everyone signs an NDA, non-disclosure agreement. And first, I'm just gonna like put it out to my brokers in my office that do these type of properties in this area. And if not, I have a network of brokers and they're gonna sign an NDA also, and so is their client. So we could actually bring you a buyer and not even have to do a listing agreement and not even have to advertise it, okay? So that's another way that some clients will agree to have you do an off-market listing. And for that, you don't need a listing agreement. All you need is for them to sign agreeing to pay you a commission and on some properties, sellers don't even pay the commission. Like on that medical office that he did, his buyer paid the commission. So that's even more attractive for you to go to a seller and say, hey, not only can I do it off market, but I might even be able to bring the buyer to pay the commission, so you just sell it and don't even have to pay my commission, okay?
Not allowed that.
So usually not, but.
No, on certain
Right.
you know, on those medical offices, if it's off market and you're dealing with REITs, they have no problem, but they'll negotiate with, yeah. On apartments and on what you guys do, normally you have to agree for a seller to have a certain amount to offer.
With that said, for what we're doing, the pocket listing thing actually makes a lot of sense, because not only do we, off the bat have to keep it confidential regardless, it makes the people a little more apprehensive, a little bit warmer, I think. Yeah, I think that's really good.
Okay.
So.
All right, so, if you guys, there's not that many of you guys that are doing, Mark, he's been in the business 20 years, he still does cold calling, okay? I see Almog do cold calling. He's not that good on it, that's why he's in here, he's gonna be really good now, but he does a lot of cold calling, even though he's been in the business, but it's like, Until you get a book of business where you have clients calling you like crazy, it's like cold calling is the only way you're going to expand your business. It's the way it is. And once you do it, you'll get over it. I mean, we got a new guy, Sean, who's been here like practicing his cold calling like crazy because he's been doing that for the last 20 years, but he's been selling meat. He's like in the wholesale meat business. It's like he cold calls and goes and meets, he's like, man, I would rather go and cold call for some buildings or something real than like selling pork chops. So it's like, you guys are not selling like pork chops and like, steaks and stuff. So it's like you're selling properties. So it's like, it's good.
He's
So,
getting better, this guy.
I've been working with him. All right, anybody have any questions?
That's the reason.
Okay, thank you for coming in.
Yeah, real